でも人間様の中ってやつはそんな簡単じゃないし、そんな優しくないし、私だって意地あるし、殴りたい殴れなかった真実はそこにある、口出ししないで。
Anime sucks, is what my mom tells me every day, and that I'm wasting my time. Let's just go. It's finally time. The moment I wish to encapsulate into a single digital image. Mitsue Yamazaki finally getting her chance to express her full potential as a director with an original anime. Not that Nozaki-kun wasn't delightful, she just felt binded down by the material.
単純に面白いって言われるような作品だけを作りたいわけじゃないんでね、もちろん価値だって言われるのかもしれないんだけど、面白さの価値そのものも突き詰めたいと思ってるんでね。
Mentored by the one and only of his kind, Kunihiko Ikahara, Yamazaki boasts the same eccentricities of abstract visual metaphor and gorgeous imagery, just toned down, more grounded, less relentless, quiet almost, but with the same melancholic and playfulness to a direction that makes something so oddly, beautifully surreal. And with the strong backing of many top animators and consistent freelancers at Dokukobo like Shu Shigeta, and even the phenomenal work of art director Chieko Nakamura, and the freedom of an original series with no rules, Tadakun wa koi wa shinai may just be unforgettable.
I know I've let you down. I've been a fool to myself. I thought that I could live for no one else. But now, through all the...
Wait, I can still jerk off to this. Now, you probably don't know this about me, but I was born in 347 BC. And you may not believe it, but I knew Jesus and... what? If BC means before Christ? Oh, anyway. My name is actually shortened from Glenistotle. I worked with many of the greats, such as Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. Some say I jerked off to the first anime titty. My knowledge of the anime titty, it knows no bounds. I am infinite. And High School DxD is okay. It has some anime titty. So, it's pretty good. The simmering indolence and careful elocution, something hides just in plain sight of this sequel, a sufferance for violence. You know, it's hard to dissuade myself from 2014 that there's more than that inclination, that there is something to the violence. The original Tokyo Ghoul never really reached me in that regard. It was indulging in the violence of its bloody conflict about humanity without displaying a conscience. A conscience that spotlights its critiques of racism, classism. A spotlight that divulges exactly what it wants to say instead of flimsily constructing it upon a foundation of glass statements that the characters never return to. But occasionally, there's a glimmer, and in hopes of finding that glimmer, I continue, I tread on, I read the next chapter, I will pick up the anime, I will read and watch Tokyo Ghoul read, even if the previous iterations show that Shuji Mikisano shouldn't be trusted with the continued adaptations, but yeah, so whatever. I will keep looking until it reveals itself, because Tokyo Ghoul is addictive and resonant for its attempted mining of the social contrast it wants so desperately to pierce with its message, also Toko's hot. A message that, ironically enough, comes through its display of raw intimacy between characters rather than its violence. We're all human, no matter what. And so is the decision to place an inherently slow-burning series into a 12 to 24 episode block. Tokyo Ghoul's thinly veiled conscience won't be found in another botched adaptation, but who knows? Tokyo Ghoul has earned an attempt. Okay, now I know every other Persona adaptation has been disappointingly mediocre, but hear me out. Masahi Ishihama. Just a name, but this name is different. It is a name that I consider synonymous with visual tenacity unfounded by many other names in this industry. Everything this name touches transforms into a dazzling showcase of diverse set pieces and framing that elevates fundamental questions of societal value and self-worth through visuals alone. Or whatever the scene requires, he is just so talented. Ishihama is not constrained by sticking to the same thematic material, even though exactly what he's best at is what Persona needs. He works with what is there and turns it into something deeply personal and something beautiful. The director of Shinsai Kaguri and a bunch of other, like, one-off episodes that are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If I name them all now, this video would be like a million minutes. And his name is now attached to Persona 5. This name. A name that has the capacity to end the streak of mediocre Persona anime. And I do fear the possibility of producer involvement hindering his talents, which is something entirely possible that has not happened before Hero Academia, considering how big of a name Persona is, and them not wanting to fuck it up. It's understandable. So either we get something wholly Ishihama, or we get something wholly probably mediocre. But hey, Persona is also a name that can stand on its own. Persona 5 specifically really has a lot to say about society and realizes its emotion through the genuine sorrow of its cast that just wants to be comfortable with themselves in a painful world focused on destroying anything that stands apart. Its base concept of transversing subconscious feelings through alternate worlds makes for an audacious, explosive exploration of the increasingly complex dynamic between free expression and I want to fuck Kawakami-sensei, okay? Okay? And speaking of Persona, Caligula was written by Tadashi Satomi, Persona 2's writer. But more importantly, I want this girl to do personal ASMR for me where she just belittles my pitiful existence. God, I hate myself. But even more importantly, Junichi Wada is directing it. A man who really elevated Sukasuka to something I already adored, but something into love, into just complete utter adoration. Honestly, not sure if the source is good, and the synopsis is some base chuny fantasy stuff, but if Wada is given freedom with the adaptation, I believe it can really be something special. Okay, like most battles shonen actually worth their salt, Hero Academia isn't inherently about punching things, despite, well, Deku punching things. It's not all about overwhelming issues with power, but by humanizing those villains or problems through the fundamental lessons of the series, very repeatable lessons, being the best you, realizing there's no shortcuts to adulthood, and that relying on others is alright. All pretty universal stuff. But the difference with Hero Academia is that the series doesn't play these character moments as a feat of strength, but as personal realization, and that's the heart of it all. Also, Bakugo is a good boy, you shut your fucking mouth! Also, this third season is adapting some of my favorite material like the Forest Arc and Bakugo being a good boy, but there is a key word in that sentence. Adapt. It's not a hard word, it's not one I have to explain, but for whatever reason, people are obsessed with adaptations needing to be one-for-one to their source. Adaptations aren't your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other. You don't have to promise faithfulness to them. Whether it be an adaptation of a novel, manga, or game, the artistic, thematic vision of the original author has to be altered to fit into this medium, and Hero Academia just doesn't. It's filled with mid-shots and a directional style that would put my 80-year-old grandma to sleep. This adaptation has no visual vocabulary outside of the manga's original paneling, which is very good, or an occasional masterful action cut by Umakashi or Yutapon, and a bunch of other names I'll say and you won't know the name of. I like Hero Academia, I do, but I wish it had enough meaningful storyboards or style to make me love it. There is room to play around with the material in its westernized style, but it refuses to even take a single step beyond the safety net they have purposefully forced themselves into, and that's a real shame. Bakugo is still good though. An adult romance. What the fuck, I can't shut up. I won't speak for anyone else, but as a once shitty middle schooler to a once shitty high schooler to a now shitty adult, sort of, I find Wotaku Nikoi wa Muzakashi powerfully nostalgic. Despite being 5 years younger than the two main characters, I've always been alone. But especially recently in this short period in this stupid world I've found something so important. A person, people to share my passion with. Anime, games, 2D Japanese porn, something meaningful. And Wotokoi emphasizes that through a moody, highly relatable love. Both 26 years old, and both still looking for more than they're doing now. Narumi and Hirotanka find their passions of games, anime, and hot 2D characters culminating into something meaningful. Love. Which I'll never have, but hey, I can self-insert into my Japanese animes. Clap.
I'm done. Standing here with a bunch of idiots. Fuck you all. Good luck, superstars. Fucking useless.
Very, 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 very few shows nail fun as consistently as Soma does. The general rapport shared by the characters and just the warm atmosphere of the world they inhabit is just so addictive. These characters are friends who like each other's company, and being invited for another cur to share that company is refreshing. It's a fun show, and I can't help but come back to it. But the material it's adapting also has the antagonist that kind of diametrically opposes this very notion. No spontaneity, certainly no fun. Adhere to the administration's needlessly strict guidelines or else find yourself buried in a shallow grave. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but the ruthless Azami will stop at nothing to see his perfect culinary world implemented, and it threatens the atmosphere that has made Soma the pleasant experience it has largely been up to this point. And the manga so far has been bogged down by this central storyline, and now the anime is going straight into it. But luckily for us, Soma's indomitable spirit can't be withheld by nebulous tactics and scummy chefs, and even a boring adaptation. This arc offers redemption for our stupid, lovable protagonist, but better yet, even though it's gonna be fun, we get to see Erina emerge from her shell more and more, and Alice is still best girl, so shut your mouth, don't type that comment. I can hear you. I can hear you writing that comment. Oh, but this guy has no idea what he's talking about. He just says a bunch of words. He doesn't, Erina is the best girl. You shut your mouth. Steins Gate is a series that builds and builds and builds and builds until it reaches the point of emotional betrayal, made more complex by interlinked, worsening circumstances. The micro-conflicts that conflate into the devastating events of Steins Gate are almost mundane in a way, but they build into a riveting whole in that musky apartment building that houses the people who live the story, the journey. Its cracks and crevices reflecting the tremors that are Okabei's every selfish or selfless decision, and the impact those have on the friends he loves. There's a scathing irony to Okabei's ethos. His very core is one that doesn't allow him to stand by and let others suffer. He knows what suffering is, more than most, and he cannot bear to see it inflicted on others. He loves because he is loved, and he tries his best to give back while confronting the misery within it. But more interestingly, we also get to see the impact they have on others, an externalization that begins with the end. The end of Steins Gate, because Steins Gate 0 takes these endings and recontextualizes the idea of a happy ending that we've grown so accustomed to, and posits that idealization of lived experience doesn't need to exist in contention with less than ideal reality, unearthing the aching beauty beneath even the most painful experiences. In a joyous, viscerally moving, and profoundly affecting finale with the impact of a bullet train, it grants its characters the kind of closure that we don't often afford ourselves, but would for these scientists we've grown to truly know. Summing Zero into something, to me, personally, unreplaceable. Sword Art Online Alternative is like being in a locked room, and the key to escaping is solving a complex math problem when you're only about as proficient in math as Asuna is in avoiding getting porn drawn over it. Not that I'm complaining. More SAO is going to happen. Except this is different from the Sword Art Online you know. An alternative, even. Whether those differences is for the better is up to the beholder, but hey, if the closest comparison I can conjure up in my head for this spin-off is Space Jam, there's probably something there, right? Dominated by a mood so infectiously positive, Amanchu spins the tiny ideas of a short walk or natural everyday occurrence into wonderfully constructed vignettes that naturally blend the believable dialogue into the back and forth balancing of interwoven themes that mean much more than those actual events. It does the most with the least narrative material and leans itself with the audience into its fully lived-in sense of authenticity. It is a very patient series. It doesn't force anything to happen. It's content to wait until not-so-dramatic and dramatic events emerge from the quirks and puzzles of human behavior. And this allows a vivid portrait of those small life moments stained with equal parts hope and melancholy to be painted across the small reality of scuba diving that defines the series' largest moments. And the possibility of the moments this sequel offers is a gift I never even considered asking for, but for some reason it's happening. It has a season 2, and the happiness I have received from that really accentuates what I am getting at. Man, if it was still 2007, I would be so excited. But it isn't. But Full Metal Panic is coming back, and that almost makes me feel homely, nostalgic. Hopefully it's still the tropey, fun mess I grew up with. Even if it isn't, I get to see Tessa again, which is more than enough for me. It is so difficult to believe that I have been reading Hinamatsuri for almost 8 years now, and even more so impossible to believe that a comedy manga would have this longevity, which really showcases how hard these punchlines hit. With the simple but impossible to predict dynamic between a Yakuza and a supernatural powered young girl, Hinamatsuri slams home the very thing your mind is thinking. It pries on your expectation of nuance and rails you with bluntness. It doubles down on exactly what you're thinking to highlight the obvious hilarity of its ideas itself. And alongside the outrageously good staff that made Origaru 2 better than its predecessor in almost every way, Hinamatsuri is a sure comedy hit. Hiding behind the veil of a serious action drama, Golden Kamui almost tricks you into embarking on one of the most twisty-turny, campiest rides that manga has to offer. Its anime staff is very hit or miss though, which is worrying, and god, I don't feel like reading more. It's 2 AM, I just want to open X Hentai already and sleep. It'll probably be okay. It'll be a fun series. Hey, listen. We've only known each other a short time, but let me know you. Tell me who you are. Honesty is important. I'm Glenn, who are you? But, like I said, honesty is important. I have no clue what Hisono Tommaso 10 really fucking is, which is why I'm kind of battling. And god, that makes me excited for it. It has a range of talents that I just never could have anticipated being placed next to each other on a staff list, like Maria Okada, Shoji Kawamori, and fucking Hiroshi Kabayashi directing. The names all come with a consistent stream of enthusiasm. The look of the series is very unique, and the premise already loads the audience with many almost discomforting but interesting questions. Fantasy wartime drama, How to Train Your Dragon, or Dragon Porn. Probably one of those is right, and whichever one it is, I'm ready. Seasonal dose of that good, cute shit. Very wholesome adaptation of an obscurish manhwa. It's laid back, but that doesn't keep it from going deep, with the dialogue full of casually profound observations on not really human nature, but the nature of humanity. It's one that shouldn't be as overlooked as it probably will be. Ashita no Joe's 50th anniversary project. They punch things. Probably. Does being really eager to watch a show about horse girls make me a furry? I mean, I did want to fuck that snake. Mom, can you knock for once, please?